Today, we're diving into one of the most critical choices you'll make in retirement, your Social Security strategy. Decisions you make here can add up to thousands of dollars over time, but a wrong move could leave you struggling when you least expect it. Social Security isn't just another retirement check. It's the foundation of your financial security, and knowing when and how to claim it can make all the difference. A single mistake could cost you valuable income for the rest of your life and even put your spouse's future at risk. In today's episode, we'll uncover strategies you need to avoid these pitfalls, maximize your benefits, and secure your financial future. Don't leave your retirement to chance. Let's make sure every decision counts. Welcome to Retirement Rescue Weekly, where we throw a lifeline to your financial future. This podcast is dedicated to helping rescue retirees from potential dangers that appear in retirement. I'm Kurt Arnold, your host and financial advocate. I'll guide you through the stormy seas of retirement. We'll tackle inflation, taxation, market volatility, and healthcare costs. Together, we'll secure your retirement. Tune in and start your rescue mission today. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Retirement Rescue Weekly. I'm Kurt Arnold, your financial advocate and host. Before we get in the show quick, I just wanted to take a moment to think about all the people impacted by Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, and all the workers that are working hard to try to get people saved and back to normal. So thank you for all those that do everything you can to help everybody. With that being said, let's get into today's show. We're going to talk about Social Security today, and you're probably wondering, what else can I hear about this? And, one of the things that really stressed me out as a financial planner is sitting across the table from, retirees in tears because they made a mistake. And they said they didn't know. They enrolled in Social Security at 62 because they thought that's when they were supposed to. Or out of fear, they think that Social Security is going to run out of money and they're not going to have any Social Security, so they just signed up for it. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we help you make good decisions that will help you understand when to enroll and to understand the program and its purposes and help you really be more educated. And I think if we have that, we can take some of that fear away. So let's get into today's show. Today's show is maximizing Social Security benefits and avoiding mistakes. Now, President Eisenhower had a good quote here, and he said that the original plan for Social Security was not intended as a substitute for private savings, pension plans, insurance protection. It's rather intended as a foundation which other forms of protection can be soundly built. Thus, the individual's own work, his planning, and thrift will bring him into a higher standard of living upon his retirement. So the key thing from that is the program was never intended to be a retirement plan. Actually, when it came out, people were not living as long. And if you happen to live into your 60s, this is more an insurance protection for living longer. That was the actual original intention of it. And if you actually ever look at your Social Security statement, it says your primary insurance amount. So it is insurance for living longer. The sad reality is, though, 40 to 50% of retirees rely on Social Security for a majority of their income. 25% of retirees, that's 90% of their income. That's a lot. So when you hear the things on the news about the program running out of funds or it's going away or all the back and forth that happens, that's where there's so much fear and anxiety about this particular program. And, we're not going to get into the politics here today, but we want to make sure you're educated to understand this. And then 40% of adults 60 and over struggle to meet monthly expenses. They're living paycheck to paycheck, with Social Security being the majority of that. So obviously, as inflation increases and things like that, that's where this really puts a cramp on things for them. So Social Security, we're going to talk about all the basics you need to know. And we're going to try to give you some tips and things too, to help you understand the program. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure you understand the importance of understanding the eligibility ages, income limits, adjustment strategies. I do encourage you to go to ssa.gov, the Social Security website, and create a login if you haven't already. It has like an ID Me program that you have to do. But get there and look at your actual benefit, download the statement. I always tell people, make sure that the amounts on there are correct. Every once in a while, it does happen where their employer reported the wrong income, and it will affect your Social Security benefits. So make sure that's correct, but make sure you know kind of where you're headed as far as what your income could be for you and your spouse. so that you understand that. What we want to do too is we want to make sure that you're not making mistakes. Now, what people don't realize is when you call Social Security, they're not going to give you all the information. They're just going to answer questions. They legally cannot give you advice when it comes to this, because that would be financial advice, and that means they have to be licensed, and then there's a lot of liability. So all you can do is answer questions. So they are not going to give you the best amount. They're going to give you whatever you ask for. So with that being said, let's take a look at this. Welcome to Deal or No Deal Social Security Edition. The stakes are high. Your next decision is going to make a huge difference for your future. Will you start early at 62, wait till full benefits at 67, or go for the maximum jackpot at age 70? The choice is yours. Okay, we're down to 3 briefcases, age 62, age 67, and age 70. Each has its pros and cons. What's your strategy? Let's get started.
Okay, let me start with lucky number 17.
17.
Okay. Yes. All right, so this case is your full retirement benefit. If you started at age 67, you'll get your full benefit with no reductions, and Social Security is offering $2,600 per month.
I want to see what starting early looks like. Let's see, number 15.
15.
It's Social Security. Let's find out what they have to say. Okay, so case 15 is your earliest Social Security start date at age 62. They are offering $1,900. That is 75% of your actual benefit. You'll be leaving some money on the table if you decide to start early.
Well, I'm tempted to take the case because I kind of want to get money flowing, but that's a smaller amount than I thought, and I'm just locking in small payments for life, so I'm kind of worried about that.
That's right. Starting early means you get your checks right away, but they can be smaller checks for the rest of your life. So, deal or no deal? Pick another case.
10.
So what do you think, folks? Should he take the age 62 benefit, the age 67 benefit, or should he find out what's in this case, which is his maximum benefit at age 70?
I wonder how much it'll be, but I'm nervous about waiting till age 70. That's a long time.
All right, so they're offering for age 70, $3,400 per month.
I don't know, if I wait till age 70, yeah, that's a lot more money, but can I wait that long? And what if I don't live that long?
All right, folks, in the game of Social Security, there is no right or wrong answer. It's all about what's best for you and getting your income built for retirement. Whether it's age 62, 67, or age 70, or any time in between, that's going to be a personal decision based on what you're going to need and your spouse over your retirement. The choice is yours, but make sure you get all the information you need to make the right choice for you. Consult a financial planner to review your income sources and make sure you make the right choice before you select your benefit. All right, so obviously you can see the game show theme there. And actually, when you think about Social Security, it is kind of a deal or no deal proposition, because you're going to call and say, here's my date of birth, my Social Security number, and they're going to tell you how much you are entitled to for that age. They're not going to say, hey, if you wait a little longer, you get this, or if your wife does this, you do this. They're not going to do that. So it is a deal or no deal type proposition, which is why that is kind of an appropriate reference for this. Now, a couple things again about the ages. 62 is the earliest, but again, you're taking a pay cut. You're going to only get 75% of your actual benefit because you're starting it earlier, because it's got to go a lot longer. Your full retirement benefit is based on your date of birth For most people, it's somewhere between age 66 to 67. There are some people that have 66 and so over months. So make sure you understand that. And this would be 100% of your benefit. Then age 70 is going to be more. So each year you wait past full retirement age, it's another 8% more, which is going to get you to age 70. And that's going to be 132% benefits, which is going to be the most. But then you have to wait the longest as well. Now, these aren't the only 3 ages you can do. You can do anything in between, but just those are the 3 key ages you always hear about when it comes to enrolling in your benefit. So when you think about it too, here's where, again, it kind of shows the different ages and what the amounts would be. 100% is you're going to be your full retirement age. 70, once you get past 70, you're not going to be able to make anymore. So it doesn't really benefit you to wait. Now, there is some strategy though, if it's husband and wife or whatever partner and partner situation, there is some strategy sometimes where maybe one spouse starts and then the other spouse delays, because when you think about down the road, if one person passes, you're going to keep the bigger of the 2 Social Security checks. So if we can make that bigger one as big as possible, that's going to help a lot for longevity for the other surviving spouse then too. So think about that when it comes to selecting when to start. So it's really important to have a strategy. Don't just say, I'm going to retire, I'm just going to turn on Social Security. That's not a strategy. Make sure you understand your income needs, your expenses, how this is all going to work. Remember, this is a foundation. So we start with Social Security, and then we put on like pensions and rental income and other income. And then we add, maybe part-time income, and then we add investments. So we got to make sure we understand how much that is. If we don't have that foundation, that's, if you don't have a house on a foundation, that house is going to be flimsy. So make sure we have that good foundation first. So some different thoughts for starting at different ages. At 62, maybe you need it for immediate income. Maybe you have health concerns. So you have to start earlier because you're not going to live as long. Now, remember though, there is that future risk because you're locking in that amount, and it's going to stay at that amount with cost of living adjustments, but that's where it's going to be. So make sure you understand that risk. Full retirement amount, 66, 67, that's 100% of your benefit based on your work records. Now, so you're not going to have a reduction. And this is the one you hear the most about, because that's the one that Social Security considers retirement age, is your full retirement age. Now, if you decide you want to work and have Social Security, you have to wait till full retirement age. If you start working earlier than this, you have income limits, which we're going to talk about in a second. But once you get to full retirement age, if you still want to work and work part-time, go back to work, do consulting, it doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you want at that point in time. Age 70, that's going to be the highest amount possible, as we said. So that's where you're maximizing that benefit. What some people do, what I talk with a lot of my clients with especially, is maybe sometimes we delay, not just for having the bigger of the 2 checks get the biggest as possible, but also because we're trying to do some proactive tax planning. So remember, once we start the benefit, we're adding income, and then that adds to our how our ordinary income is calculated. And once we turn it on, it's on. So it's not like the old days where you can turn it on and suspend and everything. It's pretty much when you turn it on, it's on. So if you want to do some proactive tax planning, this is where maybe you want to delay so you have some time and some income room to fill up some tax buckets to do some tax planning. Now, again, going back to income limits and penalties, a lot of people like to work part-time. I had a great uncle that he worked for a nursery. So he loved doing stuff around the yard. So it was fun for him, got him out of the house. He was social, got to meet some people, made a little bit of money too. And of course, he got the discount, which is what he really liked too. But when you do, you have to understand, what are my income limits? So if you're still working and you start Social Security and you're before your full retirement age of 66 or 67, whatever that is for you, your income limits for 2024 are $22,320. So if you make more than that, your Social Security is going to get penalized. So $1 is withheld from your benefit for every $2 earned over that limit. So say you made $75,000. It's going to be a pretty big chunk of money that's going to get withheld that you're not actually going to use. Now, people say, oh, you're going to take away my money. You're actually going to get it later on. It's going to be a separate line item on your Social Security later on, but you're not going to get it right now. So again, why start it early when you're going to have a penalty anyways? And then once you actually get to your full retirement age, that amount increases because obviously that's a time when a lot of people are retiring. So they're going to give you a bigger benefit of the doubt, a bigger amount, and then there's less that's withheld then. Now, Social Security is supposed to grow and have adjustments to align with inflation. However, the reality is that doesn't really happen. So they're called cost of living adjustments. We call it COLA. The average COLA over the last 10 years, though, is 1.88%. It's pretty low. I mean, that's like, bank money markets and things like that. It's not too much. The average inflation, the cost of things, groceries and all that stuff, last 10 years, 2.53 though. And in 2022, it was as high as 8. And it actually at one point was 9.1%. So here's the takeaway. Your Social Security is not growing with inflation. So over time, maybe when you first retire, say you need $3,000 a month to live off of, and your Social Security is $3,500, you're like, oh, I'm good. I got a little extra even. Not for long though, because eventually your Social Security will not keep pace with the expenses, and then you'll have to find other income sources to cover that. Your medical cost inflation over the last 10 years is 4% and growing. We talked about that in a previous episode too. So again, it's not keeping up with inflation when it comes to that as well. And you look at housing and cars and things like that too. That's also where it's going to hurt a little bit more there too. Widowers benefits. Again, we talked about when one spouse passes, what happens. Now with widower benefits, there's a little bit more strategy that we can still do. They took away a lot of the other tools, but one of them we can do with widowers. Surviving spouse can start as early as age 60 or 50 if they're disabled. And then they can actually switch between the benefits. So you could actually take the widower's benefit right away at 60 and then delay your benefit till age 70 and try to see if you can get a bigger amount, which is where we have to kind of do some calculations to see what makes the most sense. But that's where there's some strategy involved there. And I actually met someone at a class I was teaching at Social Security a couple months ago, and their spouse passed away several years ago. They didn't even know they had a widower's claim. So they missed out on income for several years. So make sure you're aware of that. Divorcee benefits, of course, if things happen where you have a divorce, but make sure you understand how those rules work. There's a little bit more than what's on this screen, but and I get a ton of questions at seminars when I teach on this. But you can claim on your ex-spouse's record. You must have been married for at least 10 years, and you must be divorced for at least 2 continuous years unless your ex-spouse is already getting benefits. You must be at least 62. And if you do remarry, usually you're not eligible to receive those divorcee benefits again. Usually there's some different situations where you might, but usually you're not. So again, make sure you understand this. Now, one thing we always talk about in the seminar is, hey, if you're at 9.5 years and you don't like them, see if you can hang on for another 6 months, because then you might get a little bit more Social Security for yourself in retirement then. Now, taxes. Now, what does this have to do with Social Security? Taxes actually has a big impact on Social Security, more than people realize. And actually, this is where when I'm meeting with clients or teaching classes, people get pretty angry because they didn't know this. So Social Security is taxable. So you paid a tax on your paycheck when you're working to go into Social Security, and then you eventually get to turn on Social Security. And then based on your income, you have to pay tax on your Social Security. Now, most people do pay a tax. There are some that don't, but most people do. So if your income, if you're married filing jointly, for example, gets in this 32 to 44,000 range, half of your benefits are going to be taxable and counted toward those ordinary income rates. Most people we end up speaking to are going to end up though in this range where 85% of their benefit is considered taxable income. So that's where it can really get taxed more. Now here's where the curveball gets thrown in. We've been told for years and years to put money into 401ks and IRAs, tax deferred. Kicking the can down the road, we'll pay the tax later. Here's the kicker. Once we start taking money out of those accounts, it adds as income every time we take it out, and it's going to cause Social Security to get taxed more because of that provisional income calculation. Now, you might say, hey, I got a Social Security and pension. I don't even need to touch that. It doesn't matter. IRS is going to make you take money out beginning at age 73. And when you do, each time you take it out, it potentially could cause your Social Security to get taxed more. So it does have a connecting effect. So make sure you're aware of that. Usually that's where people get mad and say, are you kidding me? Uncle Sam's going to take a bigger chunk of this? Yes, he will. And this is where they usually don't know about this. Now, so this is where it's really important as you approach that retirement red zone to understand your Social Security benefits, your taxes, your income, so you can do proper planning instead of just literally saying, "Hey, I'm going to retire. Here's my keys. See ya. Give me my gold watch." It's really important that you're doing planning as you approach that retirement red zone, and understanding when to turn on Social Security, and understand the taxes and all that stuff too. So let's look at a case study, a couple of them actually. We're going to show you about why this is important. And I'm going to use some real numbers here. We'll change the names, of course, but real numbers. So the Tax Thompsons, $100,000 a year of total income. They started their Social Security at full retirement age. They worked till 67. They turned it on right away, but they did no proactive tax planning. So over their lifetime, I have this software I can show you if you want to reach out to me. It's going to make them pay $340,000 of taxes just on their Social Security benefits alone. It doesn't even include what they're going to pay in their IRAs and other things. Just on their Social Security, they're going to pay $340,000 of taxes. Now, could you use $340,000 of taxes in your retirement? I'm sure you would. That's a lot of money. The average retired couple is going to spend $300,000 on medical expenses alone, right there. If you could just do some proactive tax planning, we just helped you cover some of those costs. Or maybe you want to buy a vacation home and a warmer climate or something like that, or take some trips or whatever. That's going to go to Uncle Sam if you're not doing anything about it proactively. Now let's look at the flourishing Franklins. $100,000 a year income. They also start Social Security at the proper time. So they did some proactive tax planning. And then what they ended up doing is they ended up paying only about $100,000 in taxes, because what they did is they did some Roth conversions and moving some tax deferred, tax free. And what that did is it lowered what it's going to go into the provisional income calculation over time. And then that actually affected Social Security less than once they started it, and it allowed them to keep more of their benefit for themselves. Now let's look at spousal too. And then we talked about what happens if, let's make sure we do things the right way. So let's look at the Masons. So the husband, $36,000 a year Social Security. The wife stayed home for a long time raising kids, domestic engineer. So she didn't have that much in her work record. So she only gets $9,000 a year, collectively $45,000 between the two of them. But did you know, because again, deal or no deal, the wife did not realize she's entitled to more, and she could have actually dealed with Social Security and got more. So let's look at that. So she's actually entitled to the bigger of hers or half of his as a spousal benefit, which would entitle her to $18,000 instead of $9,000, which then it would give him $54,000 a year, $9,000 extra over 25 years. That's an extra $225,000. Again, it's another big chunk of money that they should have had that they didn't, because they didn't understand that they actually are entitled for more, because they didn't go back to the banker and ask for more money, so to speak. So what are some things we can do right now? Go online, get a Social Security account established, and then make sure that you are reviewing your statement and make sure it's accurate, and make sure you kind of know what your benefit amounts are. Before you enroll, make sure you're coordinating with your spouse to make sure you understand what those benefits are, and make sure you understand all the different ways you guys could potentially claim. Evaluate other income sources. Make sure you know when you can start other things like pensions and pulling from retirement assets. Consider proactive tax planning. I cannot stress this enough. It will have an impact on your Social Security if you do not do it. So make sure you're doing that to protect your Social Security so you get more for yourself. And if you take more for yourself, that means your retirement assets are going to be more for your retirement, or even for your kids, or other things that are going to be for your desires. And make sure you get personalized advice about when to start Social Security and how to make this all work. Don't just do what your friend did, or your neighbor, or your sister. Find out what works best for you before you enroll. Now, we always like to add a lot of information to kind of help you understand this. So Social Security is one of those ones that we get a ton of questions on. So there's only so much I can cover in a short period of time. I could sit here for 2 hours talking about Social Security, and we probably still have another 2 hours of questions. But what we want to do is we want to help you understand more about your situation. And we have some really great software that I talked about before with the taxes and things that we can actually run for you as a complimentary report to help you understand what your benefits will look like between you and your spouse. And also help you understand the taxes and all the other stuff. So please, reach out to us. There's going to be a link in the show notes for you to take advantage of that. And then when you do, we can actually get you a personalized report that will show you exactly different things for start times, spousal strategies, taxes. It's a very valuable report. It's very good information, so I highly recommend it. Again, thank you for joining us today for another episode of Rescue Retirement. So again, we're trying to go through all these different things to help you save from all these different pitfalls that are coming up in retirement. Social Security is one of those that can be devastating if it's not done right. So we're looking for ways to help rescue you from the stress of this, which I've seen the opposite. I've seen what happens when people didn't get the help proactively, and now they're looking back saying, I wish I would have known this. So please take advantage of that free report. It's going to be worth it. And let us know if there's any other topics or things that you'd want to hear more about for your retirement goals as well. Again, we're live every Thursday, 11 a.m. on the East Coast, 8 a.m. on the West Coast, and we will be back again next Thursday. Until then, have a great week. Thanks.